Attention musicians of all levels. It's not always easy picking out a song by ear. Sometimes you need a little help. Well, I have the app for you. Whether you're a professional musician or a beginner, Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. For just $2.99, you get the chords and tabs on guitar, bass, or ukulele for over 1 million songs. They're all available at your fingertips. You also get tools like a tuner, metronome, chord library, lessons, videos, and more. You can find out any song you want. It also has like transpose button. It has auto scroll that you can change the speed to so you can play along with the song. A lot of the songs have the lyrics there so you can sing along with them. Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. Just go to ultimateguitar.com or download the app to your phone today and start playing. Start playing any song you want. Ultimate Guitar, that's the place for you. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny, I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week. I hope you have. I want to thank everyone that reached out on Wednesday to wish us congratulations and happy anniversary. It was our 11th anniversary. First episode of How Did I Get Here came out August 10th, 2011 with Susanna Schofel. And so for Wednesday's 11th anniversary show, I spoke to my old girlfriend, Jessie Clayton. Now she's my friend. Before she was my girlfriend, she lived with me when I started the podcast. And we talked a little bit about that, but then ended up really getting into life and overcoming trauma and you know, overcoming things in life to get where you are today. Great conversation. Go back and check it out. I'm still feeling, I tested negative for coronavirus yesterday, but I had it last week. For those of you that haven't checked into the show for a while, I got it last Tuesday. And I'm feeling better, but today I'm feeling really, really, really sluggish and really tired. So I don't know what's going on with that. I'm going to go check out Grace Sorensen, who you might have heard on the show a few months ago. She's doing Thursdays at the Firehouse here in Austin, every Thursday of this month. So okay, you missed the one from last night. But the next 2 weekends, go check her out, man. She's amazing. She's a new artist. She was on the show a few months ago. We had a fantastic conversation. I actually saw her first band performance earlier this year. It was incredible. I just heard some new songs of hers that are blowing my mind. So, yeah, check her out. Grace Sorensen. Grace Sorensen at the Firehouse here in Austin if you live here. All right. Hey, gang, I've got a great, great, great show for you today. I spoke to this guy, Harry Springer, who has a band called Moonwalker. Moonwalker. Listen to moonwalker.com is where you go. Their album, Attack of Mirrors, drops October 21st of this year. Their latest single, I'm Afraid I'll Go to Heaven, is fantastic. There's a great video for it. There's a great another single called The Price of Life Itself with a great single. I mean, it's a great single, and it also has a great video as well. He put out his debut album last year called Truth to Power. It's a 7-song album. I don't know when an album becomes an EP or when an EP becomes an album, but this is a 7-song album. It's great, man. Moonwalker is great. He's from Brooklyn. He's doing a thing right now where 100% of the proceeds of his Bandcamp sales are going to Planned Parenthood. That's 100%. Not many people do that. He's giving it all away. Fantastic dude, man. So he started this record at the height of the COVID lockdown in 2020, and he started making and selling music to sound libraries, and then eventually kind of realized, like, hey, shit, I'm kind of making a record and making a band. And the music is it's like alternative rock pop music. It's the kind of music I love. He has a very, very, very Mark Bolan vibe from T-Rex. Sorry, I was drawing a blank on his name. The COVID baby. It's making my brain have farts. Anyway, we have a fantastic conversation about his journey in music, and as I said, he lives in Brooklyn. He's probably going to be heading out on tour later on this year. Find him at listentomoonwalker.com. Go to the Spotify. Dude, that guy's getting like 25,000 plays a week on Spotify on his songs. So get out there and check him out. He's shooting. He's a rising star. All right. Second record, Attack of Mirrors, comes out October 21st. Go check out those singles, I'm Afraid I'll Go to Heaven and The Price of Life Itself, and his debut 7-song album, Truth to Power. This is me talking to Harry Springer from the band Moonwalker. Let's get down.
I don't wanna live forever, 'cause I don't want what's coming next. Don't think we stand taller together, 'cause half of us ain't got no spine.
You're Harry.
The ones you
Yes, I'm here.
I'm Johnny.
Nice to meet you, Johnny.
Nice to meet you, man. Are you in Brooklyn?
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Okay. Your music is fucking amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude. It's one of those things where you're waiting for a band like you to come along. That's when I heard you, I was like, oh, that's what I was waiting for.
That's awesome. I guess I agree because I'm just making what I wish was in the world.
Yeah. You know what's funny is there's something about, like, I'm a musician as well, and a songwriter, whatever, all this stuff. There's something about when somebody makes a record, like you make these you made Truth to Power on your own. What about all this new stuff that's coming out on the Attack of Mirrors?
It was the same process as Truth to Power. Actually, I did like the writing process didn't really stop from when I started with Truth to Power until I guess until really now. Like there was just, I remember with Truth to Power, I knew it was done because like, there was 7 songs. I think the last song I wrote on it was New Commandments, which was about like 7 commandments. And then that made it like a 7-track album. And I was like, that just feels right. Like each song is a commandment, you know?
Right.
And so it just felt right for me to be like, okay, that album's done. But I didn't like stop writing. You know, within a couple days, I wrote like Price of Life itself actually was one of them. But I wrote a couple songs from this album. So it never really stopped. And actually, I made that whole record at the same place that I made Truth to Power, which was my old apartment in LA. So I've made music since then, but those two were made like really within the same couple months and on the same like creative breath, I guess you could say.
That's drums on there, right?
Yeah.
That's you playing drums. You played everything.
Actually, the only thing I didn't play is drums.
Okay.
I had my friend play drums. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you just lost the gig. I was about to try and hire you for my band.
Oh, I'll be terrible. I can write a good drum part, but not play it.
Yeah. So you're in Brooklyn now?
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you from? Like originally?
I'm from
Denver?
Yeah.
Wow. What's it like growing up in Denver?
That's a good. I mean, I guess I didn't realize it was weird. I guess I didn't realize what makes Denver not like a normal American city until I went to LA and then back to Denver actually, because like, you know, I had my interest in Denver and they felt very like, I don't know, like isolated. Like I really liked coffee and going to record stores and going and doing all these things that are like, you know, like a big thing in Portland or New York or
right.
LA or something like that. And not like I felt like an outsider or some weird thing like that, but like nobody that I knew did what I did. You know what I mean? Like I knew where to go to these weird places and,
right.
you know, and so I felt a little bit like in Colorado, like I was kind of like a fish out of water, but what it didn't really matter because I did my thing. And then going to like, you know, Brooklyn or LA, like that's very much the norm. I'd say that, you know, how I like to spend my time is pretty on par with how most people like to spend their time.
Did you feel like you had to get out of Denver? Like I got to get out of here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like part of it was, you know, being a kid and being like, oh, I go to Los Angeles and get the, but and that's not valid, but part of it was also, which is entirely valid, was like, I can't be where I grew up. Like I like Denver. In an alternate universe where I grew up somewhere else, I'm sure I'd be more inclined to be there. But it just, yeah, I had to get out. I had to go away from home. I had to not be where I was comfortable and familiar with everything and had my patterns and all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23. Wow, you're so young. That's amazing. Did you go to school, or did you try to go to college or something?
Yeah, I didn't go to college. I was like, my parents, everyone in my family, I'm literally the first person in my family at all, except I guess my grandma, to not go to college. Everybody's very smart. And at first it was like, even when I was taking music very seriously and struggling in school, unlike my siblings who were great in school, my parents were still like, okay, well, you got to go to college. Like, you have to. And it wasn't until I remember I won in my old band. We won some like competition. So we got to play a big amphitheater in Colorado. And I guess that they registered that as success. And they were like, okay, you do not have to go to college now. They still made me apply to the colleges. But there was no way. There was no way they were going to convince me to go. And I think that they knew it too. They, like, again, fortunately that thing happened right before, my senior year. And so they, I think, started to warm up to the idea that it could actually work and I don't really need to go to college.
Right. Can I ask you a question? Are you Jewish?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that trip that they were in. Well, no. The guy that I kind of started out in my first bands with, he was Jewish, and the way his parents sort of like, you got to do something like that's gonna take care of you. Like, this is no way to take care of yourself until they see you on a big stage and they get fucking starstruck. And then they're like, fuck you, this is amazing. Keep on doing it. It's so cool. Yeah.
Everybody, all my friends, he's a rock star. My kid's a rock star. Exactly.
Yeah. I remember talking to his mom backstage at a show, and she was, well, it seems like everybody likes you. It's fucking great.
I approve.
I approve of what you're doing here with the concert music and everything.
I wish it was in Yiddish though.
So what? What did your parents do? What was your dad's and mom's?
They're both lawyers. They're both like divorce and civil lawyers. So that also, I mean, they speak a certain. It's all a certain way. That even I was thinking recently, like, the music is very like confrontational, and that tends to come from people. It is very
confrontational. I love that. Yeah.
And I feel like that tends to come from people who grew up around people who are not like-minded, and so then they become a little bit militant. And it's funny, I had the opposite. My dad was always like that way. Like, my dad was always, and about the same things. Like, I mean, we don't agree on everything, I'm sure, but like, he was always very like, there was never like, oh, don't talk to your like racist uncle. He just thinks this way. It was like, if somebody had a problematic view, he was going to like attack them a bit. Like, there was no accepting of like very kind of dated and shitty ideologies. And so and of course, again, it's different. Like, we don't agree on everything, but that I grew up, my parents, probably because they're lawyers, were always very like, no, we don't accept ridiculous opinions and bullshit. Like, that's not okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm glad I had that. I think that we'd be in a slightly better place in society if people kind of thought that way within reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, some things can be tolerated.
Totally. But musically, were they like, where did you get your taste in music? Because it sounds, you look like Mark Bolan, like. Yeah, no, that's what made me like grow out my hair. Like, discovering T-Rex was huge. And then I saw at Amoeba in LA, there's a book of Jewish rock stars, and he's the cover. And I was like, oh, check it out. Yeah. And his real name is like Simeon Feld or something?
Yeah, Feld, exactly. Right. And his brother's name is Terry Feld.
There you go.
His brother's got my name.
Yeah. You even have like the Les Paul and all the whole like. I think that's good. Bolan's one of my idols. Like, I'm 53, and like musically, I get compared to him all the time, and like whatever I'm trying to do, I wish my hair was like that.
It was. I mean, I always liked long hair, and then I remember seeing him and just like, I wasn't even like a young musician when I found him. It was like, there's those people you find when you're young, and they're like the archetypes what to do, and then there's people when you're like a musician who you find and you're like, whoa, like this is crazy. Right. And he was that for me. And that's like maybe more significant. I think that his influence on me is actually more profound because it came when it did, and it very much was like, because like I was writing music and I was doing, But that kind of like gave me perspective. I was like, okay, I can sing like that. Like that's my range, so I can be a singer.
Yeah.
Also, I always thought like, oh, I want front men are cool. I want someone who's not holding a guitar. And I was like, well, he's the coolest person I've ever seen in my entire life. He's
Easily.
holding a guitar.
Yeah.
All the time, so that's bullshit. And also like the mystical lyricism, like, oh, I can be talking about the moon and all this, you know.
Yeah, you have that lyrically, because even though you're hitting on like social issues and like things like that, there is sort of a poetic sort of like spray of words, like a hubcap diamond star halo vibe. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm glad you pick up on that. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
It's like painting with words. You get the idea, and it's more like impressionist lyrics or something. You know,
Exactly.
you step
And
back
I could
and
not
you get
agree
it.
more.
Right.
Exactly. No, I that's like a big thing. I feel like lyrics, a lot of people think it's like poetry set to music. It's not. It's like its own thing. And whatever it was, like John Lennon, like had his finger on the pulse, like just the balance between being on the nose and not being on the nose and being poetic and making sense and not making sense.
Yeah.
Like it's a really delicate balance. Lyrics are very interesting, but I feel like Mark Bolan he nailed it. And I always try to kind of exist somewhere in there where it's not like, this is the story chronologically, this is everything. And it's also not like, these are my beliefs. This is how, you know, it's like kind of shifting perspectives. And sometimes it's just words that phonically sound, you know, good and kind of capture the right message, you know?
Right. And to me, that's those are the lyrics that I gravitate to, because they're more colorful than somebody telling you something directly.
I could not agree more.
Right.
I completely. And it's nice that like it's good if the message of a song can come through, but also like it's a bummer if everybody listens to the song and goes, I know exactly what it's about. You know what I mean? Like that's even like that one song by Foster the People that was huge all those years ago. That was like about a mass shooting. Like if you read the lyrics, it's very obvious. But the way the lyrics juxtapose the sound makes it so you could, at the very least, people would be walking away with two very different ideas of it. You know what I mean? Like the answer is there if you want to find it, but like, I don't know, a lot of music now, it's like intended to be like, you couldn't miss it. You can't miss what this is about.
Right.
You can't miss, you know, the message. And I think it's cool when it's a little bit more subversive than that, you know?
Right. And a little more obscure, so that way the song can mean something directly to you, because you can take from it what you're hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If I know it's about like a breakup and you're listing specific things they did, it's just like, I can't, what do you want me to do with that? Like, you know, like maybe if I'm going through the same thing, then I can be like, oh, okay, we are feeling the same. But like, how am I going to apply that in a month when I'm not feeling those things anyway? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you were growing up, when can you remember the music that made you connect with music and go like, okay, I want to be a guy doing that?
Oh, definitely. That's a great question. My parents, it's funny. They had really good taste in music. Like when I started getting into music, they would, you know, I'd be like, have you heard of, you know, ELO or T-Rex or whatever?
Oh,
and they always had, and they knew them. But when we were growing up, I think music was just like different. Like they had a different relationship with music, you know, like it was always on in the car, but just like top 40 pop radio. Like, it was, you know, you know, like they liked music was always there, but like, or they'd buy like, you know, some greatest hits CD from Starbucks from an artist they used to like and listen to that for a day. It's like, they kind of cared about music, but not really. And then I went and saw the Beatles Love show in Las Vegas, which I think is like still running somehow. Because this is over 10 years ago. But I went and saw that, and that was my first time like hearing the Beatles or hearing really music like that at all. You know, and I had always like, there was songs I'd hear on the radio that I loved, and I'd go like watch the music video and like pretend to be in the music video, like Linkin Park and the Killers and stuff like that. But it was nothing where I was like, I really want to contribute to this. You know, I was just like, yeah, this makes me feel cool, you know. And then the Beatles, that was when I was like, whoa, like I have to understand what this is and be a part of this. Like, this is so cool. And so I had asked my parents for years to let me start playing guitar, and they were just probably rightfully so. They were like, you're not going to like it. Like, we're going to buy you the guitar. You're not going to play it. And that's going to be bad. Yeah. And then for this, I was like, no, I really need the guitar. So I got like, you know, one of those Fender starter guitar kits with the amps.
Yeah.
for my 10th birthday a couple weeks later. And it was like, I took my first lesson. It was like, the rest was history. I mean, that was like, I don't even hardly remember anything about my life before that. There's like before guitar and then after guitar when I became the person that I am, you know?
Yeah. There's
so I guess I didn't even answer the question. The music then, I kind of just got into older music just because, you know, I found like Kiss and Led Zeppelin and realized that that's where the guitar, you know, is really the main instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you lived here, man. Like
you were in, where are you?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never even been to Austin. I want to really bad though.
Oh yeah, you got to come down. Yeah, South by Southwest is down here and shit. There's yeah.
And I know Spoon's from there. Spoon's one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fucking such a great band.
Yeah, oh, they're amazing. I love them.
Yeah, I kind of came up with those guys here in the 90s.
What other bands are there in like the Austin scene, or were there, I guess, like what type of music?
Fastball, remember them?
I've heard of Fastball. Yeah.
They're from here. Gary Clark Jr., you know that dude?
Oh,
guitar dude.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
he's
Stevie
amazing.
Ray Vaughan was from here. If you ever got into him.
Okay. Of course, yeah.
Black Pumas. I don't know if you...
Really?
Yeah, Black Pumas are from here. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Are they all still like based there?
Yeah.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess eclectic or like mostly like modern rock, would you say there? Is there like, I guess...
No, it's a lot of singer-songwriter. It's a lot of singer-songwriter country and blues.
Okay.
There's weird shit pops up every once in a while. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's hip-hop, there's rap. There's a fuckload of like Latino and like salsa shit going on here, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense, yeah.
Anyway, so I forgot where we were. Why does that happen? That's terrible.
You know what? I didn't really answer the question. We were talking like how I found the music.
Okay,
I found it.
So here's the question I have to you, because music means something to all of us a little bit differently, right? Some people use it; it saves their lives. Like, you know, with me, it literally saved my life. My mom died as a teenager. I was already playing music, but it put me in a music became like my everything. Right? Like my life partner. But when I first started doing it, I was 13 and I'd been taking guitar lessons. But what was happening to me at the time was I felt like I was fading back into this place where I was becoming like socially zero. And I was super horny and wanted girls to like me. And I went to a Cheap Trick concert with an older group of kids and an older girl. I was 13. She was 16. She told me she would sleep with Robin Zander because she loves dudes that sing and play guitar. And I was like, wait a minute, I play guitar. And then like the next day I woke up and I had a whole new life. And it was like freedom. It was like identity. It was so much more than just making music.
For sure. Absolutely.
So what did it mean to you when you made that epiphany and wanted to make music?
First of all, that's so well said. I could not agree more with everything you just said. I guess it started, it came in like waves. I think of it mostly in like, when I started playing guitar, that definitely changed my life and gave me an identity and something to, I mean, like every day, something to look forward to. Every day I had a reason to come home from school and play guitar for a lot of reasons. I think like you were saying, it gave me like purpose in a world. Like it just gave me, I could go into this world and lose myself in it. And, you know, I would always like write stuff, you know, like write riffs and whatever. It was a while before I was like a songwriter, but I would like make riffs. Like there was always a way I could express myself, or a song that was really resonating with me, that if I learned it on the guitar, I could feel like just a little bit closer to being on stage or writing it or something like that. And so that was huge. Like immediately playing guitar was just like my whole world. It was the only thing that I cared about. But also it was I had a little bit of the like shredder syndrome, where it was kind of like an Olympic sport. Like how fast can I play and how many, you know, notes can I fit and how fast can I sweep and all this. And it was like that for like a couple of years. And honestly, like I listened to music that I have no attachment to, not even like nostalgic. Like there's nothing about this music that I like.
Right.
And I'm a little embarrassed, although it's like, you know, it gave me, I think, certain like like knowledge and skills on the guitar that otherwise I just would have never thought to develop. Like every other instrument that I know,
Right.
which I learned after being a songwriter, I just know it like enough. You know what I mean? Even
Right.
singing, I just know it enough to make the songs I want to make. Guitar is the only thing where there's always like tricks in the bag that I don't show because I don't think they sound very good on the album, but I've got them, you know what I mean? Like, I could do the, you know, nonsense. But, so I spent a couple of years viewing it as a little bit more like, I'm going to be the best in the world. Like I was like an act or something. Yeah. And then I think I realized probably in like, I don't know, maybe like 9th or 10th grade that songwriting was kind of the whole point. You know what I mean? Like as soon as I like was in my first real band releasing music, I think I realized like nothing really matters except for the song connecting with people. You know what I mean? Like, right. and so that was a massive turning point for me where I like stopped, you know, doing the way that I allocated my time to music just changed entirely. I would before that, like go on YouTube and watch the Guitar World, like bet you can't play this thing and learn the licks and do all this stuff. And then it became like, I was spending just as much time with the guitar, but I was like writing on the acoustic guitar and it just became like way different. And it still is that way. You know, my writing process is different now and it almost always involves, you know, having a production and doing it on the computer and kind of creating a loop that I like and then writing vocals over it. But it's still like, it's all about the song. It's always 100% about the song. And as soon as it became about the song, that's when it really became like, I think the most important part of like my survival, you know, like if I ever feel emotionally backed up or angry or worked up or like any negative emotion, really, it can be fixed by writing a song, and it's probably caused by not writing enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just is a really self-regulatory thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like shitting emotionally.
It really is. It seriously is.
Yeah, dude.
It really is. The longer the time between, the worse I feel, the worse everything is.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly right. So what was that first band called? Will you please tell me?
Oh, so that like I was always in bands. I was in a band called Thumbs and Noses, Buns and Hoses, which actually it was Buns and Hoses, and then I got booked to play the school picnic or something, and they said that name is inappropriate, and I didn't understand why. I was like, so we did Thumbs and Noses. So Thumbs and Noses was just a reaction. But so I was in a bunch of bands like that. But the first band I was in that I was talking about where like I started to learn and care about songwriting was a metalcore band called The New Haven. And that was like I was talking about music that I just don't even like, sentimentally. It is that kind of music. I'm sure that if I listened to the stuff that I made in that band, I would like just genuinely hate it. Not be embarrassed, like it's early, just truly not enjoy at all what I did at all. Because I hate it. But I realized then that, like, by just being really angry and getting anger out and saying the most angry sentence I could think of, that I'd feel a little bit better at the end of it. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of realized. That's the point. And then that band became, like, towards the end, we do have one song out that's on YouTube called If You Can Hear Me. That is a song with singing and melodies and a chorus. And it's not, like, a bunch of screaming and breakdowns and shredding. And that was, like, you know, my parents love that song, and some people from school love that song. And suddenly I was like, whoa, there are some people who like the song, you know, who are like, wait, this is you? That's a good song. And that became like the most important thing to me at that point. And then that band, you know, I was in a couple other bands for a little bit. And then I started my band, The Midnight Club, which was, you know, my only band before. Yeah, it was. Although now we're getting buried because there's a show called The Midnight Club that's coming out. So that would have been a big problem.
Yeah, good thing you changed it. What made you think of Moonwalker or Moonwalker?
It was actually my girlfriend came up with a list of band names, and among them were like Radio Impulses, which I used as a lyric in TV Made Me Do It, or Box Office Poison, which I used as a lyric in another one of our songs.
There's a song. Wait, just really quick, a quick aside. I can't remember if it's TV Made Me Do It or Devil. One of them has a real Sly and the Family Stone kind of. guitar and bass interaction.
But okay, it's got to be TV made me do it. Absolutely. Yeah.
That was a fucking great song, dude.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
For the guitar, I was also thinking like Born Under Punch's Talking Heads, but like obviously they heavily inspired by Sly and the Family Stone. But
well, your feel isn't as it's a lot looser than David Byrne. Like your right hand is a lot funkier than his. No offense to him, but
no, definitely. Well, and like at first I had a hard time getting into the Talking Heads because it really is like so rhythmic. I mean, like the guitar that doesn't even have the guitar parts don't even have to be the guitar. If you were to program that chord onto like a sample pad, it would probably be better played like that. It's just like very rhythmic. And so at first I was like, I like guitar, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then when I got it heavily, and Talking Heads like one of my favorite bands of all time. I love them. But yeah, it's incredibly rhythmic. And I still kind of approach it a little bit more like Pink Floyd in terms of the actual parts.
Right.
But like the idea of like the arrangement with the Talking Heads and there being a lot of different kind of rhythmic parts panned in different spots, that is like my favorite thing. That I think is the coolest stuff ever,
What are you recording on? Do you like Pro Tools or something?
I do Logic just because it's like I learned on GarageBand,
Do you use any outboard gear? You do it all in the box?
Literally all in the box. And I have never even bought a plugin just because like for me, it kind of like it just distracts me because I feel like I'm trying to get like what's in my head out there. And like, it's a lot easier if I just know how to use what I know how to use. You know what I mean? And like even finding how to use all the different like plugins and stuff, I did it kind of just by like looking at the names, like it's just like the first time I wanted something to like be a stereo thing, just like auto filter sounded like the right thing. And so that's why I got it. And that's what I do. And there's a lot of different ways to make that happen, but I use the auto filter because that's just what sounded like what I was looking for at the time, So I really am like really green with all that stuff. I went in blind and just kind of messed around until I figured out how to do what I want. And then now it's like, I don't really want other stuff to complicate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I get like, I like synths and stuff now. So I buy some synthesizers, like, I like instruments. If I'm going to get a weird sound, I like it to be like out of the box, out of the thing. And then I can use my basic Logic things to kind of work it into the song,
Sure. Going back to Denver, when you decided to leave, how old were you?
I was just out of high school, so about 18 or 19.
And you went to LA?
Yeah.
And what happened when you went there? Like, were you able to put a band together? What were you going to do?
I guess, the short answer is the pandemic. but I moved there with my band, the Midnight Club, that I think I mentioned, the Midnight Club was the band where we played at the amphitheater, and my parents had the come to Jesus moment where I could be a real musician and they let me miss college. And so everybody in the band ended up, for the same reason, I think it was that moment for everyone's parents, just get to college and we all moved to LA together. And we were, the reason that band ended and this band began was the pandemic. We were there for like a year or a year and a half before the pandemic. And that we played live, we went and recorded with producers and did all this stuff. So that kind of stopped it, but that band definitely had an expiration date. And the reason is just because like, I was always putting together bands starting in the Midnight Club. I was just putting together bands that could kind of like fill the holes of what I couldn't do. So like, I wanted to write the music. I wanted to be the producer and whatever. I kind of just wanted to get what was in my head out, and I couldn't play drums or I couldn't sing or I couldn't produce or whatever. So I would bring in band members and producers and stuff to kind of fill in the holes. And over time there started to be less holes, I think, that needed filling, you know what I mean? And at some point then we weren't using producers, and at some point then I was singing a lot of the vocals, and then our singer started working on his own project, and the music was like great. Like I was like, this is better than the Midnight Club, and people were telling me that some of the early Moonwalker songs were better than the Midnight Club, and I was like, well then what? At first I was jealous that he's doing the other music, and then I'm like, what, like why? I'm making the best music I've ever made. He's making the best music he's ever made, And I don't think that he wants to be singing my songs, and I don't think that I want to be changing up, what I'm going for, I guess, because I love collaborating, but like I've always wanted to have like my project where I can do what I want. And if I want to do a collaboration on it, that's great. But like I want like my project that I can kind of, I see through exactly my way. You know what I mean? It's great to work with other people with their own visions and see what you end up with. But like sometimes I want to see where that thing will take me, where that idea will take me, Mm-hmm. And so it was important to have my project. And for a while, like that was the Midnight Club. And I don't think that was like fair to the other members of the Midnight Club who were also creative people.
Right.
Exactly. So it just seemed like we were kind of going in that direction. And we also all happened to be more like kind of Trent Reznor type people where not that we don't collaborate well, but like our best ideas don't necessarily come out in a co-write. They come out, so like all of us are kind of like studio hermits working on our own music all the time, and I think more and more people are like that nowadays, because you can, like you can make music by yourself on Logic.
Yeah.
But so it's like, that's really what happened to the Midnight Club. But I mean, I guess we were just there for a year playing heavily. We were able to play around enough that we weren't distracted by stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter if we weren't always like creatively fulfilled because we always had a show to prepare for and we always had a studio session to go to and stuff like that. So like, I think in quarantine, we all kind of started to think about what we really want out of this. And it just naturally became different projects for me, Moonwalker, of course.
Yeah. When did Truth to Power come out, in 2020 or 2021?
Yeah, 2021 in September.
Okay. So you were doing that during the pandemic. You started it out by writing music to sell to sound libraries, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's like that was because the Midnight Club, that was my first, with the Midnight Club, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing the Midnight Club, but I'm jealous that everybody's doing their own stuff and I'm putting all my effort into this thing. So I'll just start selling to sound libraries for like some extra money and another thing I can control. And then I wrote a couple of songs that aren't on the album, and then also This Dark Town and Tear Down the Wall, which are on the album. And I was like, well, I don't want to sell these. Like I'm too happy with them to just like cash out and be done with it. But they didn't feel like Midnight Club songs. You know what I mean? Like I liked my vocals on them. I didn't want to have to change them and kind of make the arrangements fit into like the Midnight Club's discography. And so I was kind of like, I don't exactly know what I want to do with these songs because I don't want them for my project, but I also don't want to sell them. And so that was where Midnight Club or Moonwalker began. And then there was a couple months where I was doing both. We were all doing both our own projects and the Midnight Club. And then it just kind of naturally fizzled out, because it costs money and time. And we were spending our money and time on like our projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, you got tremendous response, there's people out there, myself included, like that wish we had 1 million plays on a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
So you put it out, and how did that sort of like for someone getting started or something, like what was the path that you took? I mean, first of all, this is something I work with this nonprofit called Austin Music Foundation as like a mentor. And the main thing that we're always talking about is like, hey man, don't worry so much about social media and all that stuff before you have great music that people want to listen to. It's like you don't open a shoe store before you've ordered all the shoes.
Exactly. And people I think that like when you're making your own music, it's like magic to you that you made this happen out of nowhere, And so it's kind of like, I when I look back on my old music, not to go off on a tangent, and some of it's terrible. And I'm like, oh, that's so embarrassing. How did I like it? But then I think back, it's like, I didn't like it. It's not like I was like, oh, this is amazing. I was like, oh my God, it's almost a song. Like, I can't believe I made this. It's almost a listenable song.
Yeah.
Like I knew, and so I feel like when you're young, it's your inclination to be like, I can't believe I did this. Everyone's got to hear this. It's like almost as good as like real music. I got to put it out. And like the truth is for releasing music to be anything other than kind of depressing, you've got to have great music. Like that's like the bare minimum. And then everything else is like an added bonus. But it's definitely like, it's a little bit depressing to release music sometimes and have nobody listen or to get a lot of, negative opinions. It can be pretty difficult.
Or just ambivalence.
Yeah.
Like no plays, no nothing. Like no one's saying it's shitty. No one's saying it's great. No one's even acknowledging
Nobody
it happened.
knew.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And especially when there's like nothing. No, I completely have been there. And I mean, I have not only been in bands since 8th grade, like I grew up in the internet age, like being in a band meant releasing music. I have been releasing music probably on a bi-monthly basis since I was in 8th grade. And I mean, yeah, most of those songs were heard by literally 0 people, less than 100 views on YouTube to this day, you know?
Dude.
And so it is disheartening for sure. But like, there is something inside of you where you can't stop. And frankly, the more, at least for me, my reaction, the more disheartened I got throughout it, it didn't make me want to stop at all. It kind of made me go like, okay, well then this cannot be how I leave. You know, it almost like lit a fire under me more like, well then I've got to make more songs right now because this can't be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if I release a song every month, then it doesn't matter if nobody hears this one because they'll hear one at some point. And even if they don't, I always have one more to look forward to. Like there's always something for me, even if it's only for me, something that I believe in for the next step. And so that's, I guess, really, that was all a tangent, but that would actually be the biggest general piece of advice, I think, is if you keep yourself excited, then you'll keep going forward. Whether you could think in your head, oh, well, if nobody hears this, I'll stop. But realistically, if you have another song you like, you won't. You know, like you're going to want to keep doing it.
Right.
And that's like the biggest thing. If you stay motivated, then you're going to keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got to show you this. This is my 8th grade band first show.
But you look like a rock star. Like when I was in 8th grade, I remember wearing like basketball shorts on stage and the camp counselor being like, you can't wear shorts anymore. Like that, you look like you're in a band. That is hilarious.
I appreciate that. That's always been something I've strived for. It's important.
Same. Especially though, because I started so away from there. That I still wish I could look that cool on stage.
Well, you've ended up in a great place. Like
Thank you.
Some of your shoes and photos and videos and shit, I'm like, what?
It's been a long time coming with the shoe collection. I have huge feet, and I like mostly boots that are just made for women, and so it's really, really hard to find women's shoes that can fit my giant feet.
Yeah. All right. So, what made you go to Brooklyn from LA? Like, what made you make that move?
It was like, I guess in LA, I just didn't like love LA, honestly.
Me neither.
There is a type, and like, I would never make a generalization about the people somewhere, because I used to hate the people in Colorado. Then I went to LA and I hated the people in LA. And then I realized maybe I just don't love the vast majority of people, and that's fine. It's okay. Like, that doesn't mean it's a terrible place or I'm a terrible person, but maybe just if I run into someone on the streets, there's a chance we're not going to be best friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't think that it is what it is. But like, I do think that obviously the type of people everywhere are to some extent a product of the place. And I think that people going to LA to be a star, many of them not even knowing what exactly they want to do, and the way you kind of do it in LA being that you just show up to the bar and you talk to everybody and hopefully you bother this fucking guy enough to where he feels obligated to give you an opportunity. It's all networking and beating down the door and all this. And I just realized I am not that way. Never going to be that way. Never going to be like my parents, like, go to the concert and introduce yourself. I'll never do that in my life unless it's Paul McCartney. I'll never do that. And not only will I not do that, the people who do that aren't necessarily the type of people I want to collaborate with. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's not exactly my way of doing things. That's not, they tend to always want something from you and some type of, you know, it's like, So I was just realizing, like, okay, the way things happen here, I'm not going to ever do that. That's never going to be the way that I do things.
Right.
And that's fine. No disrespect to them, but also, what am I doing? And then also, like, on a very personal level, I hated driving there and getting stuck in that crazy.
Yes.
Because it's not walkable. It's really not very walkable at all.
No.
Like New York, I can get everywhere without, I rarely even take the subway. Like it's so not walkable. And then it's also not drivable because anything over a mile away is going to be like 25 minutes. It is absolutely unlivable. Like you can't leave your house.
Now, where did you live there?
I lived first in like central Hollywood, like right across the street from the Netflix building, like very, I will say when I first moved there, Amoeba, the old Amoeba was just down the street and so was the Cinerama Dome.
Oh, okay. On is that on Sunset or on Hollywood?
Yeah, Sunset, exactly.
Yeah.
And now Amoeba is on Hollywood, and I think Cinerama Dome might still be closed. I don't know. But so at the time, those were walking distance, and that was great. That was obviously enough, you know. But then those closed, and the pandemic happened, and there wasn't really anything. And then I moved to Silver Lake, which is probably like my favorite part of LA.
Me too.
But like,
mine.
Yeah, it's great there, but I mean, like, I couldn't walk to places, and the drive was ridiculous, even if it was a mile away. Like, it's just all the same problems, you know. And even like in Silver Lake, I loved it, but like my roommate, the singer of the Midnight Club, he got like assaulted 3 times by homeless people outside of our house, like punched and like just or like Los Feliz was my favorite part of Los Angeles until I still loved it, but like I wanted to live there. And then my girlfriend who lived in like the prime location, like a naked guy broke into their house and hid under the bed. Like just all this horrific, crazy
Christ.
like it was crazy. And not that I left because I felt unsafe or whatever, but these things happened all the, you know, at the place in Hollywood, I watched a man bleed out from a stabbing and die in the Denny's across the street, or I assume die. I mean, the cops came at some point, but it wasn't looking good. Like it was a little bit crazy, but I guess just I was always in the places that I really liked, and then this crazy stuff would happen, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess that's just here. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was, I don't know. I just didn't. Yeah, I think for a lot of reasons I didn't love it. Also, like I didn't really love the food or the coffee very much. Like there's good stuff there to be found.
Yeah.
But like. Even like living in Brooklyn now, I was talking to my girlfriend. Anytime it's time to like choose food, I get like happy. It's like, yes, I'm going to do. In LA, it was like depressing. It's like, what do you want to eat? Oh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You just want to get like McDonald's. I don't know. You know, it was like, it was actually actively, as somebody who loves food, it was actively kind of sad.
Yeah. I made a record there, and my band got really tired of me wanting to eat kookaroo every day.
Wait, what's Kookaroo?
Kookaroo was this chicken place. It was like a rotisserie chicken place.
Oh,
but they were everywhere there in LA.
Pollo Loco or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but it was called Kookaroo. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. So this new record, it's not coming out until October. You've got a series of singles out. All great songs. I love Doombox too. It's a fucking great song.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Are you going to play live?
Yeah, I'm planning like a small run right now for like September, maybe August. Just like New York to Chicago and back. A very short thing, just get a couple places in there. But I'm going to do a lot more touring in 2023. Oh, at least a nationwide thing. I've got to get to Texas. I've got to get to like the West Coast. So I'll definitely I don't know if that'll be like a couple different runs or one big thing, but I definitely will.
How will you do it? Like logistically, like will you take an entire band, or will it be you and the drummer and some tracks, or you and the drummer, or what? What are you doing?
Yeah. I've always done in Moonwalker a 3-piece so far. Cause for Truth to Power, the idea of that record was that it could always be played by a 3-piece, whether it be me playing guitar and singing or playing piano and singing, which doesn't mean that there was, and then a drummer and a bassist, which doesn't, like, there's more tracks than that, you know, on the record, but they're non-essential, you know, like it could be broken down always to me on an instrument singing bass and drums. And so that worked well, you know, and then for this record, there's a lot of songs that need the synth, you know. It just so happens that a lot of the singles are fine. I can do those just as a 3-piece, but a lot of the record's pretty synth-based, and to play some of it, I'd probably have to bring out a synth player. But like, you know, all of Truth to Power I can do as a 3-piece, and probably like half of this record I could do as a 3-piece. So I'll always do like a 3, maybe a 4 piece. And then, maybe at some point backing vocalists and other stuff would be cool. But it's kind of, it's deliberately a little bit malleable. I can go out with as few as 3 people and as many as an orchestra,
Yeah. I know you have a publicist, obviously, because that's how I got. That's why how we got to do this. But
Yeah.
do you have other people? Do you have management and booking agent, or what's your?
Actually, right now it's all just me. I'm talking to some managers and some agents, but yeah, right now it's literally just all me.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, although I was looking for a manager for a while to help push the needle forward, and then when I kind of figured out how to use social media to kind of introduce people to the music, I was like, oh well, then I'm fine. That's all that I care about is making the music I like, and then having as many people hear it as possible. And if like I can do that myself, then I don't need other people telling me what to do. But now it's kind of at a place where now I'm just like drowned. There's just responsibilities I'm forgetting about, and it's a lot of logistical things to deal with that I'm going to need somebody to help me with that. But for a while, I wasn't being like inundated with responsibilities and stuff. So all I really had to do was release the music, and I could do that, and frankly, I felt like I have a better grasp of how to release my music and appease my fans than somebody else probably would. And frankly, it's just because nobody's ever going to care as much as me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. But now it's getting, I definitely need somebody, if for no other reason than to just help me keep everything in order,
Yeah. Did your girlfriend move to Brooklyn with you?
Yeah. And actually, why I went to Brooklyn, a lot of that was just realizing I didn't like LA and whatever. And she was like, we had both talked about wanting to live in New York for a long time, mainly because of movies like Hellboy, which I just found out was not filmed in New York, but like Hellboy, and there's just a couple movies that have such a good New York vibe that we love. And we were just kind of talking one time, like, okay, we both hate LA. How long is this pandemic going to happen? I'm sick of paying all this money for rent. And so we were looking at moving to like Portland or Nashville or something like that. And then we were kind of like, okay, I mean, if we're moving, why would we not just do New York and just save up for a couple more months? Like, that's really what we want anyway. Yeah. We're both like, yeah, at some point we'll live in New York. But we're like, why not now? When are we going to live in New York? Yeah. If not right when we're moving anyway. So that was kind of it. And it wasn't even like really career motivated. It was more just like, going to LA kind of left me under the impression that it didn't really matter where I was. I could do what I'm doing anywhere. And I wanted to live in New York. You know what I mean? And also, like, if I'm going to pay $1,000+ a month for rent, it might as well be somewhere with a good music and industry scene, whether it be Austin or Nashville or LA. Like, if I'm going to pay for rent, it might as well be somewhere that the potential for something to happen is there,
Yeah.
But priority being just somewhere that I enjoy, and like living.
Yeah. Do you have your shit just set up there, or do you record at studios?
Yeah, I literally got in this room. We have a 2-bedroom apartment, but so we have our room and then my studio there.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone here is like a Hasidic Jew, so this is a house meant to not be able to accommodate many electronics like televisions and stuff.
Right.
And it's like a giant master room and like a tiny children's room. And so the tiny children's room is my studio. And it is small, but that's okay. I don't need it to be big.
Yeah. Do you use amps or anything when you record, or do you use in the box amp stuff, simulators?
Yeah, it actually depends. I use in the box stuff mostly because I like to be able to go back and change it, and I don't like the DI. That's so much DI and the signal. I don't know. I only like that if it's in a live setting, so I can split the two signals. But on the record, I just like to get the tone that I like. So usually that's in the box, but sometimes if I want it to feel loud and feedbacky, I'll use the amp. So really, like, only if I want it to sound like an amp. But also, like, I guess I don't just go straight in. I use a JHS color box. I don't know if you're familiar with that pedal. Like, it's like a preamp, and it's meant to replicate like a Neve console kind of.
Nice.
So you can get really cool, like blown out kind of overdrive tones. And so that I use for bass always. That's on all my bass stuff. And then for guitar, I either use that or I'll just plug my pedal board in and use an amp sim.
It's like having a Neve channel or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it is almost over. Like I could never go on my pedal board. I couldn't imagine using it live because it's so complicated. And even when you get one of the really cool tones, it's like, it's unpredictable, like a soundboard. Like, some notes get too, gated and compressed.
Right.
So kind of like a weird, it's difficult to play with, but the tones can be just like insane. And so that I kind of have made that my main bass and guitar rig, but like, again, sometimes I use my pedal board and an amp sim. Sometimes I use my little amp, but also like I can't go super loud here. And the only time I ever want to use the amp is if I want it to feel loud. If that's like the point, I want it to feel like it's in a room and it's reverberating everywhere,
Right.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? What's the number that people can text you? Do they text you?
Yes, that's like some type of. It's hilarious actually. There's this movie, The Black Phone, that's out now, and their whole marketing. My girlfriend did this was to sign up for their thing, and it's exactly what I have. The same app and everything. And so my girlfriend was like, "I wonder what this is." And I was like, "Community. I know exactly what it is. I can tell you all about it." But so that's just like it's like an email list, but just for text. Like I use it to like send. If a song's out or if a tour's announced or if anything like that, but people can text. Like it's fun to read some of the text.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I love what you're doing. Also, I can't let this go by at all without saying that you're giving 100% of your proceeds, your Bandcamp proceeds to Planned Parenthood. I'll say this in the intro too, in case people don't want to listen to us talk and they like, just because that's really, when you told me how you were raised, that totally made complete sense to me.
Yeah.
But also what a fucking, that's a great move.
Thank you so much. It was like, everyone was asking if we were on Bandcamp and I was always like, no, like, I don't really care. And then when the draft, opinion leak, it was like, oh my God, like what? I have about $40 in my bank account, so I don't know what I can do, but like, there's gotta be something that can be done here. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, I'll just set up Bandcamp. It's not like that's part of my, part of the expenses that I need to live. I didn't have that. So I just kind of like view it as like a charity fund, like I'll give it always to a movement that needs it, but right now, and my thought with Planned Parenthood too, rather than like a local abortion clinic was, at the time it was just a draft opinion. And I was thinking my priority here is not to prepare for once this happens. My priority here is to prevent this fucking shit from happening. Yeah. And Planned Parenthood felt like the most powerful, women's rights organization with the biggest name recognition. And I was hoping that could make, take my money far. But of course, still, fighting to have that overturned is still valid. It's not like we only have to have kind of, reactionary stuff. You know what I mean? Like there can, we can still hope for there to be progress rather than to just defend ourselves from an onslaught of regression,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the view with the Bandcamp thing was really like, I've got to have, like, there has to be some way where I can be doing anything and money talks. That's the only thing that seems to matter to anybody anyway. And there's got to be some way where I could be redirecting funds or creating funds, to kind of, help out social movements that need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also people get a sweet jams out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, if, it's mostly, I'm sure, people who were just either going to donate money anyway, and they're like, oh, I'll get a record anyway, or they were just going to buy the album on Bandcamp anyway. So, it's a bonus that it's going, to someone where it could potentially, have some type of benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, you're a great guy. I've really
You are
enjoyed
too.
talking to you, man. You are
Me too.
really such a great songwriter too, and such a great recording artist, and in your videos, you're such a great performer. Your videos are fantastic. People
so
need to
much.
get out there and see those. The one for I'm Afraid I'll Go to Heaven, the Shining vibe on that is awesome.
That's my favorite one. That's my girlfriend does the videos, and
Oh, really?
she kind of had that whole idea. Yeah, that one especially was like her baby. She really killed that one.
Are you guys fans of the movie The Shining?
Huge,
Huge.
massive.
Can I
massive.
show you something? This is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
we got to be friends now. Okay, you're gonna have to do the talking because my microphone won't pick this up. But hopefully
Okay.
Bluetooth will stay on. I just want you to see this one thing in my room. I'm such a fan of the show.
No way.
I saw it in theaters when it came out, but
Wait, is it on? Okay, when you're back in, it's on canvas. Is it like? Is it like the prop?
hold on. So I saw the movie in theaters like when it came out, and
Yeah.
I was always fascinated with Scatman Crothers' paintings of the black ladies
Yeah.
in the room. And so I
Yeah.
wrote that on Twitter one day, and a fan of mine painted it for me. Now it hangs above my bed,
That
just like Scatman Crothers.
Crazy. Yeah, exactly. No, like the scene, like the scene where he gets telepathically the message, and
Yeah.
he's in the bed with the woman, and that is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like it.
Yeah, she did a great job.
That is crazy. Because I thought it was like a poster at first, and I was like, wait a second. Like, because also, like, my mom randomly bought, like, she bought a prop from one of the Scream movies. And she was like, yeah, it was a prop in some movie. And then and she just got it because it was like some art piece that she wanted, but it was cheaper because it was used in the movie and it had like blood splatter. So I know you can get movie
Oh, yeah, I
props.
wonder if
know
you can get that.
somehow they're out there. Yeah. I wonder. I found a website a while ago. I wanted to get my girlfriend something where they sell mostly like crew stuff, like crew hoodies. It's mostly not props, but they had little things like in the movie Jackie Brown, the bail guy, Jack something, they had his business card.
Oh,
so like,
really?
they had a couple little things
Yeah.
for like $150 for a business card, which I'm not even saying that's not worth it because that's sick, but I can't do that. Yeah, I mean,
Right,
like for a business, like it's either that or like 5 other gifts that she'll use on a daily basis, or one fun, cool little thing that she can laugh about once. You know?
Right, dude. All right, so the videos. I'm glad your girlfriend does those. Did she do other people's videos and stuff? Is that her jam?
So she started by doing our videos. She just started being like a director.
Wow.
Recently, and she's in New York. She's like a PA for some shows,
Okay.
and she does short films. So now she's very prolific, and I'm sure will do other people's music videos. As of right now, it's just been me. But I mean, like, yeah, she's been a director for like 6 months at this point. You know,
Wow.
she just killed.
Yeah, she really
she's
is, man.
really got a high for it. She's killing it.
Yeah. Well, man, I think I followed you on Instagram, but we should definitely stay in touch because I'm going to be going up there pretty soon. A friend of mine just opened a bar there in Brooklyn, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, or I'd tell you what it was. It's really nice.
Oh, amazing!
And my
I'll follow you back.
My cousin lives up there. But, dude, it really has been great talking to you, and you are a phenomenal fucking artist, and I'm very excited to see what else I get to hear from you.
Oh, dude, I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you for having me. This was a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise. Take care, dude, and I'll stay in touch.
Great. That's awesome. I'll follow you right after this.
All right, buddy.
Great. Have a good one. Thank you for having me.
You too, man.
All are together. 'Cause half of us ain't got no
Moonwalker, get out there and check out their singles. I'm Afraid I'll Go to Heaven, The Price of Life Itself. Find them at listentomoonwalker.com and get their album, The Attack of Mirrors, October 21st. Check out their debut album, Truth to Power, available now wherever it is that you stream and download your jams. I had a great time talking to that dude, man. He is really, really nice and really funny, man. I love that guy. Check out Moonwalker. I'm telling you, these guys are going to be huge. Don't forget when you're out there checking out, listentomoonwalker.com. go and subscribe to this podcast, wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher. We're there, man. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday. We're going back to 2 shows a week. These last 2 weeks of 3 shows a week have broken me with the coronavirus and everything. All right, gang. This is I'm Afraid I'll Go to Heaven, the latest single from Moonwalker from their album, The Attack of Mirrors. Get out there and check them out. Have a great weekend, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.
And all those families that you're breaking up, those kids in cages may as well be yours. I'm afraid I'll go to heaven. That's why I'm hoping that I'm right. My biggest fearing, no, they can't fall. It's being mean to people all the time. I'll be fine as long as you go somewhere else. They tell you truth is what you make it. So how about we make it fun? Who cares if it's already